Welcome back to KTN's Morning Express. If you're just joining us, you've missed out on a really amazing show, but not to worry. There's still half an hour to go, and in studio with me, I have an OBGYN, another one this week. I know, we're really giving you a treat. Her name is Dr. Njoki Fernandez, and she's here to talk to me about women and pregnancy, and specifically the role of milk in pregnant women. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so what is the connection between milk, pregnancy? I don't even think it's something that we put together.
Milk is whole food, and when you think about it, milk is the one food that provides almost all the nutrients that are required in a pregnant woman. It provides calcium, it provides protein, it provides fat, it provides phosphorus and vitamin D in reasonable quantities. So a milky snack is always a good idea in pregnancy, and after the baby is born, it's a good idea to have a glass of milk all the time.
Okay, so all those things you've said which are mentioned or are said to be contained in milk, does this mean that a pregnant woman, if you take milk constantly, or yogurt, or ice cream even, then you don't need to take vitamins or calcium pills?
It helps. It helps that if you do take your milk regularly, then you substantially reduce your requirement for artificial vitamins that are found in pills. And milk is readily available, milk is affordable, and milk is accessible to many people. Thanks to the processing that is done in milk, we find that there are very many fantastic and exciting products that can be brought out from the milk. For example, you have whole milk, you have low-fat milk, you have fat-free milk. So people who are conscious about their weight and still want to get the other nutritional benefits of the milk, apart from the fat, can still indulge in low-fat milk, fat-free milk. Then you have other products like butter, which studies have shown is much healthier than margarine. Then there is cheese, there is yogurt, there is ghee. So there are all these nice products that come from processed milk, and so I think it's something that people probably need to think about and indulge in a bit more.
Okay, maybe there's someone who's pregnant watching us and they're thinking, oh no, I'm lactose intolerant.
Yes, there's some people who are lactose intolerant, and lactose intolerant is normal as we grow older, because the enzyme lactase that digests the lactose, which is a milk sugar, reduces as we grow older. But there are products that are found that are very good for lactose intolerant people. Mala, what we call sour milk, and yogurt, the fermentation process actually breaks down the lactose. So people who are lactose intolerant could try yogurt and mala, and they would still enjoy the benefits of the milk.
Okay, how does this translate to your child being healthier compared to someone who, say, does not take milk at all?
Like I said, there are very many components of the nutrition that are found in milk. In milk, you will find fats, which are a source of energy. You will find protein. You will find liquid nutrition. Yeah, it's a form of hydration. Then you will find calcium. I'll go a bit into the calcium. It's very, very useful because from 12 weeks, you find that the baby is laying down bone. So if you do not take good sources of calcium, then the baby will find a way of absorbing bone from you, the pregnant woman. So you find that you're losing your bone density so that the baby gets the bone mass that it requires. The baby is a perfect parasite. It will do whatever it needs to survive. So ultimately the mother suffers. So if you do take milk and the requirement for a pregnant woman is 1,000 grams per day, you find that you're able to give yourself enough calcium and give enough to the baby. Other sources of nutrients like vitamin D, phosphorus, vitamin B12, which is very, very useful in digestion and in iron metabolism, are all found in milk. So it's wholesome food and can very easily be used by pregnant women.
Okay, 1,000 grams a day. I mean, how much are we speaking? Is it a glass full, 2 glasses?
They say 3 to 4 servings of dairy per day should give you the adequate requirement that is required in pregnant women.
Okay, so if you just butter your bread, that should count as 1 serving.
Oh.
Or how does that work?
I don't
because
think
so. Yes, I've got my intake.
No, I don't think you add up the butter has got mostly fat. And cholesterol and salt, if you take salted butter.
Gee, thanks. So I feel really good about myself this morning.
But as an alternative to margarine, it is actually better because it's natural and it's digested completely. So if you really want to butter your bread, you're better off using butter than using margarine.
Okay.
Yes.
And at what point should a woman who is expecting or planning to have a baby start taking or adjusting their intake of milk, their daily intake of milk?
Unfortunately, we find that in today's situation of running around, we don't eat very well. So in the morning, you will find someone will grab a cup of coffee, probably black, and just take off.
What's wrong with black coffee?
There's nothing wrong with black coffee, but it has very little nutrition. And in the next 1 or 2 hours, you're starving because you've actually not eaten enough. So if you did have 2 bars of cereal with whole cream milk or with yogurt, or you had your bowl of fruit with a generous serving of yogurt on it, you find that you've actually had a better meal and you will not be craving the mandazi and sausage that is circulated at 10 o'clock and your energy levels are probably more balanced. There's nothing wrong with black coffee, but if we thought about how we had our meals and used milk creatively to add a bit of value to our food, life would be a bit better. And if you don't feel like having fruit, you can have a smoothie. I mean, throw it all in the blender and add in some yogurt and something you can sip on your way to work or carry it for a meal or a snack. And even for children, they don't like their fruits too much. So make a smoothie out of it, something exciting. Throw in a scoop of ice cream if they're good.
Yes.
And they will still enjoy the milk.
Okay. So you keep mentioning the different varieties of milk.
Yeah.
So whole milk, low-fat milk. What other ones do we have?
It depends, actually.
What are they? What does that mean?
Thankfully, due to processing, we are able to come up with very many varieties of milk products. The one that is ideal for pregnant women and for children is full-fat milk. Unless you have problems with obesity, meaning you're a bit on the overweight side and you don't want to add on too much weight, full cream milk is what you should go for. It has, if I'm not wrong, 3.5% of fat, and that is what growing children need. There's some products that are semi-skimmed, I mean half milk, not too much, maybe half the quantity, for people who are a bit self-conscious about the weight. And then there's also skimmed milk that has no fat at all, for people who want the benefit of milk without the fat content. Then there's lactose-free milk for those people who really cannot digest milk, lactose-free. They have somehow digested the lactose sugar. Then all the other products that you have, yogurt, which is also fat-free or low-fat or full-fat yogurt. They've come up with all these nice things. Then they add fruit, they add
cereal.
Yes, then they have probiotic yogurt where they add actually live cultures that are very good for digestion. People who have got stomach problems, people who have got irritable bowel syndrome. If you take probiotic, the yogurt, it really helps with the digestion. Probiotic yogurt also helps women who have vaginal discharge issues, the people who are always having candidiasis, and that is because the bacteria and down there are a bit of an imbalance. So if you take a lot of yogurt, it actually helps the imbalance, and the story of vaginal candidiasis also reduces. So there are very many benefits of indulging in milk products.
But I mean, a pregnant woman can't live on milk alone.
Naturally, yes.
So what are some of the other foods that should be paired, ideally, with the milk that you're talking about? I know you talked about cereal and smoothies, but apart from that, what are the other essential meals that they should really be looking out for?
I always advise pregnant women to feed herself like she would feed the child after the baby is born. Women are very passionate about feeding their babies when they're young. So I always ask them, if you would give this to your child, then probably you should be eating it yourself. Pregnant women should have a balanced diet all the time. From breakfast, 10 o'clock snack, lunch, 4 o'clock tea, dinner, and before they go to bed, something in between to keep their energies up. And the food should always be balanced, leaning more towards proteins, carbohydrates for energy, and a bit less on the fat and the sugar. That is a basic criteria. Sometimes women suffer from cravings, which is understandable. We don't exactly know why it happens. and why they always crave bad things. I mean, I always wish they would crave.
It's always pizza, chicken,
ice cream,
soda,
Coke,
ice
you know.
cream, yeah.
And I always wonder why that is the case, because they never crave good food.
Like spinach.
You know, and nice, healthy liver. And in fact, they go off all the good food and they crave the bad food. So the advice is to always try and usually if the craving is just a taste, you just want a taste, you don't want too much of it. So if you're craving Coke, don't have the whole 2 liters. Half a glass is enough. No, there are people who do 2 liters of Coke a day.
Wow.
Yes,
that's
there are people
a lot of
who
sugar.
eat, a tub of ice cream a day. I mean, it actually gets ridiculous at some
But
point.
then the excuse is always, you know, the woman will sit there and she's heavily pregnant. She'll be like, leave me alone, I'm pregnant, I'm allowed to eat what I want.
But I always think about the child inside you. What kind of a person do you want that child to be? How do you want the immunity of the child to be? How do you want the mental function of the child to be? If you're going to stuff the child with Coke from day one, I'm not sure about their brain.
So do tell me how the food that we take when we're pregnant influences what you've just spoken about, the mental
Yes.
and physical well-being of the child or the unborn child.
One thing that people need to realize is that in creating a new being, which is what a pregnant woman is actually doing, there are 2 things. There is nature versus nurture. The nature are the genes that you inherit from both parents. The male and the female come together, and there is that genetic component which the child will inherit from the parents. And then there is the nurture bit, which is what you give to the child, mainly by your food, and also by your way of life, by the way you express yourself, by your anger, by your emotions, by your serenity. That's another story. So the food you give actually affects the way the child will be. Remember that as a child is growing, they are getting protein from you, they are getting fats from you, they are getting calcium to form the physical structure of the body. We know that some foods, like foods rich in omega-3, are very good for the neural development, for the brain and the nervous system development of the child. So if you eat a lot of fish, or if you eat a supplement that is rich in omega-3, you are promoting the neural development of the child. If you take folic acid, you're helping the neural tube to close, and all these defects that we see, you're reducing that. If you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and psych yourself to breastfeed after, the baby will have a lot of immunity. So what you eat actually affects the product. If you think of the baby as a product, the product that comes out will actually be affected by the food that you eat.
So you're telling me that we are not only what we eat, the children we carry are also what we eat.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you look at children whose mothers feed very well, you can actually see these children are healthy, these children are strong, these children don't get as sick as mothers who don't eat very well. Mothers who indulge in smoking and drinking affect the outcome, meaning that the children come out, some of them with congenital malformations and some of them with mood disorders. All these studies have been shown that some of the mood disorders, some of the learning disabilities that children have are actually not inherited, they're acquired in the womb as a child was growing, because of the way the mother exposed herself to various stimulants or various things. Yeah.
I know you've mentioned smoking and drinking. We know that's a big no-no when you're pregnant. But what are the other foods that we find that we eat normally that are not recommended for pregnant women?
Okay, one of the common ones I will mention is liver. We are told that liver is very high in in iron. So kula maini. Unfortunately, liver is also the body store for vitamin A. And so it has very high concentrations of vitamin A. And large amounts of vitamin A lead to a condition called hypervitaminosis A, which can lead to congenital anomalies in the baby. So we are told liver once a month. But out there, you're told eat a lot of liver. So no, once a month is more than enough. You need to be careful about the fish you eat.
Back to the liver. Is it specific? Is it okay if you eat chicken liver, goat liver?
No, all liver concentrates vitamin A.
Okay.
So that is how the liver metabolizes. So you're asked to not have too much of it. Of course, we've talked about smoking is out. Alcohol, no matter what the amount. Some people say a glass of wine, no. 2 glasses of wine, no. I drank 3 throughout my pregnancy and my baby was okay. your baby may have been okay, but we don't know how better your baby could have been if you did not expose the baby to alcohol. So alcohol is a no-no. We talk about seafood.
Yes, I know you did mention foods that are rich in omega-3. So
yes,
like tilapia is fine, for example, but sushi
tilapia is not from the sea. Tilapia is from the lake.
Yeah.
Foods that are rich are rich in omega-3 are very good for neurodevelopment, but coupled with that is the fear of mercury in the sea. So I don't think we have a problem really much, but you have to think about that. Where is the fish coming from? But tilapia, Nile perch, please knock yourself out. Also, sometimes you find that the vegetables that we eat, we need to know the sources of these vegetables, because some people are growing veggies in all dubious places and they grow them in the sewage and we don't know that. So some of the toxins that you get from the soil end up in the vegetables and end up on your plate. So you need to think about that.
And in your baby.
Yes, and in your baby, sadly so. And then back to the milk. You need to take pasteurized milk. Do not take raw milk.
And when you say raw milk, i.e. straight from the cow.
Okay, people normally will not take it straight from the cow, but they will take it from the farmer and boil it a bit. But you see, you're not quite sure about how clean that milk is. You cannot guarantee the cleanliness of the farmer who was milking the cow. You cannot guarantee the health of the cow that was being milked, the containers that were used to transport the milk, and the person who actually boiled the milk. So it's a big risk, because in unprocessed milk, in raw milk, you get salmonella, you get listeria, you can even get tuberculosis from raw milk, brucellosis. All these are conditions that can make you very sick, and they
just from one glass of milk.
Yes, and they cause congenital malformations to the baby. Especially brucellosis is notorious for having repeated abortions in children. So the best way to make sure that your milk is safe is to have it processed, and then you're sure that the milk that you're taking in is safe. So we're just discussing the things that you shouldn't take: soft cheeses, goat cheeses, blue cheese, because of the risk of salmonella. Raw eggs, sushi, sometimes because depending on how it is made, raw fish can have bacteria. So you have to be very careful that the source of the fish is actually safe. If you're gonna heat your food, especially leftover food, it must steam, it must boil, either in the microwave or on the cooker. And after you have reheated food once, please don't reheat it again. You need to throw it out, because you can get severe food poisoning. Also, on the area of cosmetics, we women like to put a lot of stuff on ourselves, but when we are pregnant, we probably need to reduce the amount of, at home we call it gunk, that you put on your body, because you're not quite sure how much of it is being absorbed and what the risks are to the baby. We don't have studies, so we are not sure, but the best is less is always better.
Oh, poor Edith Kimani, and what happens to me when I'm pregnant?
No, you don't have to put so much, just a little.
But what about the myths I've heard being perpetuated that pregnant women should not sit under the dryer in a salon, that you shouldn't relax your hair because the chemicals affect your baby? I mean, how much of this is actually true?
Okay, when I was pregnant, I relaxed my hair right through. I think the idea is to get somebody who does it well, because even when you're not pregnant, when you're relaxing your hair, it shouldn't touch the scalp, ideally, right? So if it's being absorbed through the scalp, that means they're not doing a good job. When people are pregnant, they're intolerant to heat. So you find that when they sit under the dryer, they actually feel a bit dizzy and a bit too hot. It's not unsafe, but you will feel uncomfortable. So some people prefer not to sit under the dryer. Other things, if you wear heels, I don't know what's gonna happen. If you wear heels, you'll probably have an issue with your back later. Yeah, because as the stomach pops out, your center of gravity gets misaligned and your back curve gets a bit messed up. So when you wear heels, it makes it a bit more difficult to balance, and you could have back problems later. And it's also not safe. You'll probably fall over. You know, you're so unbalanced, yeah? But apart from that, I would always ask patients, when you hear a story, please ask, verify.
Okay.
Before you take it as gospel truth.
But on the issue of back to food and milk again, you're talking about 3 dairy servings in a day.
3 to 4.
3 to 4 dairy servings in a day. You've spoken about, elevating your food portion so that you're having at least one before you sleep, in between breakfast and lunch. But the women nowadays are very self-conscious and self-aware. They want to look snap back into shape as soon as they give birth. I'm not going to take 4 glasses of milk.
Well, I always advise my patients that when you're pregnant, it's no longer about you. It's about the baby. So let us deal with the pregnancy. Let us get a fantastic, healthy, yummy baby. And then we will deal with you later. It cannot be about the two of you, because if you diet, then your baby does not get the nutrition that it requires, which is not being fair, because the baby cannot feed on any other source apart from through you. And unfortunately, because of the hormonal overdose that comes with pregnancy, some women just balloon. Whether you like it or not, they just grow. And I think it's a beautiful growth, because it's a growth with a purpose. So I would encourage them.
I love that. It's growth with a purpose.
Just some people just grow fat because they're eating too much, and but this is growth with a purpose. And every time you think you're looking like a beached whale, just look at the product. Look at your baby and think, oh, it was totally worth it. And then after that, we can work out the weight loss. After the pregnancy, they're called the scars of being a mother, and I think they're fantastic.
Okay, you also did mention some other environmental factors which affect the well-being of the mother and therefore the baby. You spoke about, where you're sitting, what are the levels of stress you're experiencing. Talk to me about that.
Yes, the nurture bit. We know that children, especially in the womb, react to the environment in which the mother is in. When you're stressed, you produce certain hormones in your body, adrenaline especially, that increases your heart rate. And this adrenaline also goes to the baby. So the baby also gets a bit excited. When you're stressed, the baby feels the stress. When you're excited, when you're happy, when you're at peace, the baby somehow gets to be that kind of a person. So if you're all over the place, always the baby will get that personality. That's an acquired personality. But if you're peaceful, you're happy.
Personality, you're saying that the way your child will end up behaving for the rest of their lives could be determined by who you decide to surround yourself with when you're
absolutely.
pregnant.
And we say that you listen to a mother telling me, oh, the last baby was very quiet, this baby is very jumpy, and you tell them, look, these are two different people. Their personalities are completely different. So and don't think that the personality will show up after the baby is born. It is already being formed when the child is in the womb. So the way you choose to live your life will have a bearing on how that child will be when they grow up. If they're used to hearing loud noises, shouting, screaming, they tend to have a bit of a cowed personality because they don't like that kind of loud noise. And in abusive relationships, I have read that they can actually identify the voice of the abuser. Like if the spouse is abusive, the husband shouts to the mother when she's pregnant, the baby will remember. And when the baby is born, they will still remember that loud noise that they used to hear in the womb. And so they can already relate. And so every time the father speaks, the child cries, the child withdraws, because they hear noises, they hear sound. So when you're pregnant and you listen to good music, when you talk to the baby, you read for them stories, they will always remember that even after the baby is born. If you have other children and they speak to the child in the womb, when the baby is born, they will remember, these are the people I used to hear. So it's very important.
That's incredible. And I think that's a good place to wrap up this show. Dr. Njongi, Dr. Njongi Fernandez, thank you very much for making time to be on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Such a wealth of information. Thank you very much. And to all the women out there who are looking to get a baby or who are already pregnant, I really hope that you've taken at the very least, one thing from this conversation. Well, thanking all our panelists who made it to the show this morning, and of course the amazing team who work around the clock to ensure that when we come to you at 6 a.m., it is nothing but brilliance. My name is Edith Kimani. Hopefully see you here, same time, same place tomorrow. There we go. Good day.